You don't belong in first class. Vanessa Thorne screamed, her hand striking Amara Davies in the face. A dry explosion echoed throughout the luxurious cabin, seeming to tear apart the gold-plated atmosphere of the executive section. 40 passengers were dumbfounded. A few phones flashed, and most simply stared blankly, not having time to breathe. Amara swayed for a beat. The taste of blood spread in her mouth, and her cheek burned as if scorched by fire. But when she looked up, her eyes were frighteningly cold, quiet. Not a single tear, not a single cry. There was only a heavy silence, as tense as a rope about to snap. No one in the cabin knew that this slap was not the end. It was just the beginning of a storm that was forming, a tempest that would engulf everything in an inescapable vortex. 90 minutes earlier, Ether City Zenith Gateway had buzzed with its usual chaos. Announcements crackled overhead, children cried, and corporate travelers rushed toward their gates with steaming cups and wheeled carry-ons. Amara had moved through it all like a ghost, unnoticed and unremarkable in her gray hoodie, faded jeans, and canvas tote bag slung over her shoulder. She checked in online under the name Amara Brooks, her birth name, the one that appeared on her license, but nowhere in the corporate world. No assistant, no entourage, no Diamond Circle Lounge access that would have triggered recognition. Just another passenger in a sea of thousands. Gate 22, Etherlink Flight AC 89 to Capitol Heights, boarding Group 1. She'd handed her phone to the gate agent, watched the screen flash green, and walked down the jetway with her head down and her heart oddly calm. This was the fourth undercover trip she'd taken in 18 months, each one designed to experience her own orbital transport company, Etherlink, the way regular customers did, the way non-privileged customers did. The previous 3 trips had revealed inefficiencies, yes, occasional rudeness, certainly, but nothing that had prepared her for what waited aboard this particular Skyliner. Amara stepped into the Sovereign Class cabin and immediately felt it. That subtle shift in atmosphere, like a temperature drop that had nothing to do with air conditioning. The cabin was beautiful. Soft lighting, cream-colored leather seats, and warm, polished chrome accents that whispered opulence. Only 8 rows, 16 seats, room to breathe. She found the window seat she'd specifically selected. As she moved to stow her bag in the overhead compartment, she caught the first look. Vanessa Thorne stood near the galley, speaking with a male flight attendant. Mid-40s, blonde hair pulled into a severe bun, her Etherlink uniform crisp and perfectly pressed. She glanced up as Amara passed, and something flickered across her face. Not quite surprise, not quite disgust, but something in between. Her eyes traveled from Amara's hoodie to her jeans to her worn trainers, then back up to her face, her brown face. The look lasted only 2 seconds, but Amara felt it in her bones. She'd seen that look 1,000 times before, in elite academies, in corporate boardrooms, in fancy sky restaurants where she'd arrived early for meetings. That look that said, "You must be lost. This isn't for you." Vanessa's lips pursed. She whispered something to her colleague, and both of them turned to stare. Amara settled into and pulled out her phone, not because she needed it, but because she needed something to do with her hands. Across the aisle in seat 2C, a white man in an expensive synth suit looked up from his Galactic Business Digest. Elias Vance. She didn't know his name yet, but she'd learn it later, gave her the same once-over Vanessa had. His eyes narrowed. He shook his head slightly, as if witnessing something distasteful, then returned to his newspaper with a sharp snap. 2 rows back, a young woman in her late 20s glanced up from her phone. Their eyes met briefly. The woman offered a small, sympathetic smile, the kind that said, "I see you, I know what you're dealing with." Before looking back down, Amara exhaled slowly. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her mind. "Child, dignity is something nobody can take from you. They can disrespect you, humiliate you, spit on you, but they can't touch what's inside unless you let them." She wouldn't let them. Vanessa approached, her heels clicking against the anti-gravity floor. "Excuse me," she said, her voice polite on the surface, but edged with something sharp underneath. "May I see your boarding pass?" Amara looked up. "Of course." She handed over her phone, the digital boarding pass glowing on the screen. Vanessa took it, held it at arm's length as if it might contaminate her. She studied it far longer than necessary, checking the name, the seat number, the confirmation code. Her colleague hovered behind her, watching. "Amara Brooks," Vanessa read aloud, her tone making the name sound suspect. "Seat 2A. That's correct," Amara said evenly. Vanessa's jaw tightened. She handed the phone back, her fingers barely touching it. And you purchased this ticket yourself? The question hung in the air like poison. Amara felt her pulse quicken, but her face remained calm. Yes, I did. I see. Vanessa didn't move. She stood there, blocking the aisle as if waiting for Amara to confess to something. Behind her, other passengers were boarding, forced to squeeze past. Is there a problem? Amara asked quietly. Vanessa's smile was cold. No problem. Just making sure everything is in order. She emphasized the last 3 words, as if order was something Amara inherently disrupted. She walked away. But every few minutes, as Amara sat waiting for departure, she felt Vanessa's eyes on her, watching, judging, waiting for her to do something wrong. The seeds had been planted, and Amara knew with sinking certainty that they were about to take root. The next 2 hours were a masterclass in subtle degradation. No glass for her ginger ale, just a sweating can. The front sovereign lavatory was suddenly declared crew use only the moment Amara approached it, only to be used by Elias Vance seconds later without a word from Vanessa. And then, the lunch service. While every other passenger in the cabin received the hot, plated Nebula Prime option, Vanessa dropped a plastic-wrapped, cold sandwich on Amara's tray. We've run out, Vanessa chirped, her eyes flat. There are only 16 seats in sovereign class. You couldn't have run out. Well, we did. Now, please, you're holding up service. I'm holding up service because you're refusing to do your job, Amara said. The cabin was staring. Elias Vance stood up, his imposing frame moving into the aisle. Orbit sake, lady. Just eat your sandwich and shut up. Some of us are trying to enjoy our flight. I paid the same price as everyone else on this plane, Amara said, her voice steady. I deserve the same service. You deserve what you get, Vance shot back. Nothing's ever fair enough for people like you. People like me? Amara repeated slowly. People who buy tickets they can't afford with credits they're probably maxing out. People who think they're entitled to luxury they haven't earned. People with brown skin, Amara finished for him. Vanessa seized the moment, her face scarlet. I'm calling security. This passenger is being belligerent and non-compliant. She pulled out her comm unit, tapping a number. Yes, this is Lead Attendant Thorne on Etherlink Flight AC 889. We have a passenger refusing to comply with crew instructions. We need Sky Marshal assistance immediately. Amara felt her chest tighten. This was it, the point where she'd be escorted off in cuffs. But Layla, the young woman 2 rows back, was openly recording. She had to see this through. She sent a final text to Caleb Hayes, her VP of operations on the ground. They've called security. Still holding. Let it play out. The slap was an anticlimax. A sudden, brutal flash. Amara's head snapped to the side. The metallic taste of blood filled her mouth. As the cabin noise erupted around her, she straightened slowly, touched her split lip, and looked at the blood on her fingers. When she raised her eyes to meet Vanessa's, her expression was eerily calm. That, she said softly, was a mistake. Vanessa's face went white. Whatever satisfaction she felt was curdling into horror. Captain Valen burst from the cockpit. What the hell is going on out here? Amara pulled out her comm unit with steady hands. Caleb, she said clearly as she dialed. I need you now. The phone rang twice. Then Caleb Hayes' voice filled the cabin through her speaker, calm and utterly devastating. Yes, Miss Jackson. I'm here. Tell me what you need. The cabin went utterly silent. People heard the name Jackson, not Brooks. Vanessa's face transformed from white to gray. Jack, she whispered. Amara smiled. A small, cold smile that held no warmth and less mercy. Miss Thorne, she said quietly. I believe we need to have a conversation. The name hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. Vanessa's mind struggled to reconcile the woman in the gray hoodie with the name that appeared on every Etherlink corporate document. Amara Jackson, CEO, owner of 60% of Etherlink's outstanding shares. The woman she just slapped. I'm on flight AC 889. Amara continued, phone still on speaker. I've been conducting an undercover service evaluation. I need you to confirm my identity for the crew and passengers. Caleb Hayes' voice came through, clear and authoritative. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Caleb Hayes, Vice President of Operations for Etherlink. I confirm that Miss Amara Jackson, who checked in under her birth name, Amara Brooks, is indeed the Chief Executive Officer and majority shareholder of this company. She was conducting an anonymous customer experience audit. Captain Valen, turn this aircraft around. We are returning to Zenith Gateway immediately. Miss Jackson, Captain Valen stammered. I own the airline, Captain. Turn us around. Amara looked at Vanessa, shaking silently in the galley. Miss Thorne, you are suspended effective immediately. Security will escort you off when we land. HR will contact you regarding termination of employment. Mr. Vance, you are banned from Etherlink for life. You assaulted a passenger with your words. Vance's bravado evaporated. You can't do that. I can, and I will. Layla Richardson, Amara called out to the young woman. Thank you for documenting this. Share it with our legal team, but also post it publicly. People need to see what happened here. The aircraft banked back toward Ether City. Amara sat back down, suddenly exhausted. Let me be very clear, she said, her voice carrying to every seat. What happened today is not an isolated incident. It happens every day to thousands of passengers who look like me. The difference is that this time, the person being discriminated against had the power to do something about it. And I'm going to use that power. The words became a rallying cry, a promise, a warning. Respect isn't given by status. It's earned by character and enforced by action.